Hey guys, so here's part 2 of the 12.5 notes. So here, for this example 2, it says originally the pyramid had a height of 144 meters and a volume of 2,226,450 cubic meters. We need to find the side length of the square base. So remember, for volume of a pyramid, it's going to be 1/3 the area of your base times your vertical height. Well, they did tell us that our base is a square, right? Okay, so that's our length times width. And then they also told us that the vertical height of our pyramid is 144. And then they lastly told us that the volume is 2,226,450. Okay, and then we basically are finding the side lengths of our base. Okay. Now, if our base is a square, we know that for area of a square or a rectangle, it's length times width. But no, because we have a square, that means the sides are going to be exactly the same. So we're going to rewrite this so that means that we have just one variable to solve for instead of doing length and width. Now you can use any variable to represent this. You can say L squared or W squared. Because they said the side length, I'm going to do L squared to represent. Actually, I'm going to do X squared so we don't get confused with like the slant height and all that stuff. So I'll do X squared. So that's going to represent our side length of our base. Now you might be wondering, well, why are we doing X squared? Well, the reason being is if we know that all the sides are exactly the same, if two sides are exactly the same, that side times another side, well, we get two of those, okay? So now let's go ahead, we're gonna plug everything we already know into our formula. So we have 2,226,000, this is our volume, equals, we have 1/3 times our X squared, that's representing the area of the base, okay? And then times our vertical height, which they said was 144. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and actually evaluate 1/3 times 144, just so it makes it a little bit easier to calculate all this stuff. So in my calculator, I'm going to do 1 divided by 3, and don't forget put that in parentheses, and then times 144. We get 48. So now we have 2,226,450 equals 48x squared. Now the idea is that we're trying to get x squared all by itself. So in order to do that, I need to divide both sides by 48. And of course, you can just plug this into your calculator. And when you do, we should get about, and it's going to be a decimal here. So let's round to 2 decimal places. 46,384 point, let's say 38, okay. Or if it's already rounded to 3, let's go ahead and plug it into our calculator to see what we get here. Because if it's rounded to 3 decimal places, then that's good enough. Yeah, let's go ahead and round it to 0.37 since it terminates or stops. It makes it a little bit easier. Okay, now notice we have the square. Remember we talked about how can we undo a square? So to undo a square, we have to square root both sides. Okay, so now I get x equals, and here, let's see what we get. So I do my second, x squared. I get about 215.37, so around to 2 decimal places. I think that's fine. As usual, in your homework assignment, make sure you read the instructions to know where to round to. Here might just tell us to round to a whole number. If not, then round to a decimal place. And then notice what our label was. So going back here, it said that ours was going to be meters. So our sides is just going to be meters. And remember, we don't put cube there because we're not finding volume, we just found the side. Now, if it does, like if you're doing this and they want you to round to a whole number, basically if this was 0.5 or less, then basically, or I guess less than 0.5, you would round down. But if the decimal behind the number is 0.5 or higher, that's when you round up to the nearest whole number. So that's just something to know, especially if for a quiz or if it's on the homework assignment. So remember, if you're decimal and they want you to round to the nearest whole number, if it's smaller than 0.5, round down. If it's bigger than 0.5, round up. Okay? Okay, make sure you guys watch part 3 of these 12.5 notes.